Welcome to the Abundant Accountant Podcast, where all accountants come to learn all the ways to grow your firm. And when you're in doubt, I am here to help you out. So if you're ready to learn and ready to grow your firm, then you're in the right place to sharpen your skills and increase your revenue. Welcome to the Abundant Accountant Podcast. If you would like to join us for our free Accountants Masterclass, head on over to theabundantaccountant.com to really learn how to communicate your value, how to collect higher fees with confidence, and really how to get paid what you're worth so you can work a little bit less and make more money and get paid up front from clients. Today on the Abundant Accountant Podcast, we have a very special guest, and our special guest is a marketing coach for accountants who takes pride in the impact that it has on their practice and their lives. He has over 30 years of marketing experience. He also plays paddle tennis competitively, played golf in Maryland, and also has an MBA from the University of Rochester in marketing and a degree in finance. But before we dive into today's episode, I wanted to give a shout out to the reviewer of the week. And today, the reviewer of the week is G Transform. And he says that this is a great source of information for accountants looking to increase sales and leads. And yes, that is true. Here at the Abundant Accountant Podcast, it is my mission to help each of you grow your life of abundance and firm of abundance with the clients that truly you want to work with. There's way too many accountants that I talk to on a daily basis that are working with the clients they don't even love to work with. So I am here and on a mission to help you navigate those waters so you can start working with more clients that you really want to help and serve. So with that said, I would like to hear from more of you. So make sure to subscribe to the show and also leave a written rating for the show, because I'm going to take that written review and highlight it on a future episode. So thank you so much for sharing your review with us. Also, for each of you, please do tell me in your reviews, what are you learning from the show? How are you thinking differently? What did you implement that you heard that you think would be really worthwhile? So today, you are going to want to make sure to screenshot this episode on your phone. And at the end, when you're finished listening to it, tag myself, Michelle Weinstein, and our incredible guest today, Hugh Duffy, which is H-U-G-H is his first name and last name D-U-F-F-Y, and post it on LinkedIn. I want to see what was your biggest takeaway from today. What are you going to put into action that you learned from Hugh today? And I will make sure to share it on all of our social platforms. So once again, make sure to take a screenshot of today's episode on your phone. When you're finished listening to this episode, tag myself, Michelle Weinstein, and our incredible guest for today, Hugh Duffy, and make sure to hashtag the Abundant Accountant Podcast and put on your post, what was your biggest takeaway or aha moment from today's episode? Now, let's welcome the co-founder of Build Your Firm, Hugh Duffy, to the show.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I'm so happy to have you here on the Abundant Accountant Podcast. I'm very excited to talk to you because I absolutely love what you do. That is not the area of my expertise, but I would love it if you could share with all the accountants listening today, what is it that you do?
Yeah, I basically say what we are is we're a marketing coaching firm. What we really do is really help accounting firms, whether or not it's a CPA, enrolled agent, degreed accountant. We try to teach them how to leverage marketing as a vehicle to improve the quality of their practice, how to make more money, how to become more efficient, managing the business as a business and not a job, not a tireless job. Really what we're trying to do is guide them down the path of not being a jack of all trades and helping them leverage marketing as a vehicle to pick up more of the types of clients that they truly would like to work with over the course of 10 or 20 years.
Love it. Love it. So I know you say a lot of times, you're a marketing coach, and I think there's a lot of accountants out there that say, Michelle, well, what's the difference between marketing and sales? Because a lot of accountants that I run into, and I've helped a lot of them, they never thought they actually had to have a sales process, right? So Hugh, what is your take in the realm of what's the difference between a marketing coach and then also on the sales side? Like, how would you explain that to the people listening today, and how each of them actually, it's like the yin and the yang? That's my opinion.
No, it's a great question. And I do look at it differently. I separate marketing from lead generation like you do, Michelle. Really what I'm trying to do is leverage marketing as a vehicle to get a prospect to reach out, to express interest, to contact the accounting firm and say, this is my problem. This is what I'm struggling with. Can you help me? And then from there, it starts to transition into a pitch. But the first thing is to qualify that particular prospect and see whether or not it's worthy of spending time before you transition into kind of a matchmaking process and then a sales process. So from my vantage point, I'm looking at is how can I leverage marketing tactics as a vehicle to motivate a total stranger to contact you and express interest in the firm or in the services that you provide.
Yeah. And I think that is exactly what we're going to be talking about today, is really how to drum up more high quality leads for people's accounting firms, because that's what you're an expert at, right? You're motivating a stranger to generate interest and even talking to you. And then once that happens, then I do believe then the sales process occurs, right? Then you need to figure out, well, how do you qualify this person? Or is this lead an actual real lead? But there's a lot of stuff that I think you even do in the beginning stages of how you drum up more high quality leads. So I get a lot of questions from accountants, and I'd love to get your opinion on a few of them. So most of them say, how do I even start? When it comes to drumming up some high quality leads for their firm. Like, what do you recommend someone listening should do from the get-go? They don't hire you and your firm, not yet. All right. They're trying to figure it out on their own. What do you recommend they do?
Well, the first thing that I kind of guide them through is a process of what type of clients do you want and what type of clients do you want to avoid. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like asking, and I'll take a big tangent. So let's go into a process that's a little bit easier and outside the box for folks. So suppose you're in the dating process and someone asks you, who do you want? Who's a good partner for you? Who's your target audience? And the person will say, oh, that's easy. I know it when I see it. Okay, that tells me nothing. And to a lot of accountants, that's kind of the same answer I get at the beginning. So then I'll start to work from the backwards side of the equation in. Okay, so let's identify the types of people that you want to avoid. Okay, so in the dating process, it might be somebody that drinks too much, somebody that smokes too much, somebody that does this, does that, whatever it is. Maybe have, too much, I'm not even going to go there.
We can go there. We can make this fun for all the accountants listening. Who cares? We're not on the dating show. It's a great example, though. I love it. So you can say whatever you want.
So it could be, you don't want someone that rides a motorcycle, or you don't want somebody that has body art, or somebody that, has, a guy that has back hair. Whatever it is, there's a bunch of disqualifiers that we all know that if you see it, they're gone, okay? They're out. It's the same thing with an accounting practitioner. Mm-hmm. I will start the backward side in because they can't define for me who is their ideal target audience. But if I reverse engineer the process and I say, who do you want to avoid? They can quickly say, okay, I don't want somebody making an income below this. I don't want a retail store owner. I don't want a nonprofit. I don't want this. I don't want that. It's the exact same process. It's not, here's the wrong answer I get. I want a client that's going to pay me on time. That is not a qualified answer. What I want to do is understand, okay, who doesn't fit your target audience? And then slowly, what are you passionate about intellectually, who works well with your staff, such that you close the client and you pass them off to your team to process and manage. and they don't come back to you and they don't create issues, who is that client? And then I want to go down the path of how do I develop a system or a process in your organization so that you long-term can ultimately be the best provider at servicing them or exceeding their needs and anticipating their needs in advance of them even asking the question. Mm-hmm. So most people would say that's developing a niche. But really what I'm trying to do is narrow down the range of options that you get in front of so that you have your own little blue ocean pond so you're competing against fewer competitors.
Yeah, no, and I am 1,000% in alignment with you, and I love the dating analogy, and I hope each accountant listening can really relate. So after you've figured that out, right, you know exactly who you want to avoid, you know exactly who you're passionate about, you know exactly who the type of client you and your team want to work with, because when your team and staff helps them, very, very important. What can an accountant do to really put themselves out there now to start attracting these people? So in the dating world, there's dating apps, but for accountants, like, how do they get new clients? What's the best way for them to really, drum up some new leads to see if they meet their new qualifications, or are they in the avoid list?
It's kind of twofold. The first of which is we need to create a marketing system designed to attract those types of people. But at the same time, we need to help the accountant develop basically inside knowledge as it relates to that particular type of client and educate themselves at the same time. Most of the accountants that I stumble upon and have a discussion with do not think of this process of having a niche or an expertise. It's not something that's traditionally taught within accounting firms or within undergrad or graduate programs, similar to what it's done in the medical or legal industry. If you think about the legal industry, you think about the dental industry, you think about the medical industry, all of those professions basically teach segments of the category, whether it's medical, legal, dental, you name it. Those are specialists. In the accounting industry, they don't do that. So what I'm trying to do is help them understand well beyond the needs of the client, whether or not it could be a veterinarian, whether or not it's a retail business, whether or not it's an accounting firm servicing restaurants, could be oil and gas accounting. To me as a marketer, it doesn't matter what the niche or expertise is. So one, they have to be passionate and interested in learning more about that industry and ways to leverage the tax code as well as the accounting softwares to exceed the expectations of the folks in that particular industry or for that type of service. Mm-hmm. At the same time, I'm trying to do the marketing on the upfront so that you persuade them that you work with people just like them and the light bulb goes on for the prospect. So a lot of times at the same time, I'll develop a website making it appear that accounting firm only works with that certain type of client. So when they stumble on the website, the light bulb goes, aha, this is the person I need to talk to. Because every other website I've seen so far doesn't understand my industry or doesn't understand my problem. It's kind of like a person with a medical issue that says, I need to find a doctor that only works with people that have this specific condition. I don't want to work with a generalist. I want to work with a specialist, and I want to work with the best person. And this prospect, the small business owner, is going through the same process that a person is trying to find that doctor for that specific condition and the person that they think may be the best at it. Yeah. So that's kind of what we do.
Yeah, no, and I think that is key. And I love how you said that, you're at the same time, not only as the accountant, you have to become the specialist, right? That's exactly what you said. But not only be passionate about the industry and know the software, the accounting softwares for that industry and the tax code and all the loopholes for that exact, but you're also developing, like you said, if it's let's say it's the best brain surgeon in the United States because you have this tumor that has to be removed, you're going to go find the best person. And what you're saying in the accounting world, that we're doing the same. You want to become the specialist so you can start attracting these clients. And after that, now you've got your list of who doesn't make the cut and who does. So for the accountants, let's say they don't have the bandwidth to create this website, right? So when someone lands on it, they're like, oh, this is the exact type of person that I want. And it's very specific and they're not a generalist. What's another way that you've seen really work for an accountant to, drum up some business if they don't have a website?
Well, I kind of think that is fundamental, and those are the basics. A website is so inexpensive, so I'm not going to let someone off the hook on that one. And there's no reason why a person has to have just one website. You could have 3, 4, 5 different types of websites, and they're not expensive, they're not difficult. It's a way to speak out of multiple sides of your mouth and position your practice towards servicing different types of clients. But to answer your question, Michelle, there are other ways to go about out there. If somebody is, financially strapped, they could use something like LinkedIn to find other professionals in a particular industry and use that as a tool to reach out to them. Another outbound effort could be direct mail. Direct mail is a relatively easy way to target folks by industry as well as size. Have a well-constructed direct mail letter introducing your firm and your expertise and why you're unique and why somebody should reach out to you is another tactic to reach out to them. There are trade events. There are always trade events in regions of the country that you can reach out to and meet people. But I probably wouldn't start there. I'd probably start with the other 2 tactics I mentioned. But a website is so inexpensive and so easy to do, and you can have several different websites that, and I have many clients who have 4, 5, 6, 7 different websites, enabling them to make that light bulb go on, and it's not difficult.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
I mean, how many websites do you have, Michelle?
I have one main one, but I have a few, specifically for the accountants, like theabundantaccountant.com or, theabundantaccountantpodcast.com. And I have a lot of them routing to just one main one, but I think having this discussion, I'm like, okay, maybe I'll separate everything. But I think it is really important so there is no confusion. And I think for, all of the accountants listening today, if you're working with a brain surgeon, but then you're also working with another type of client that's your, orthopedic surgeon, you have a website for the orthopedic surgeons and you have another website for your brain surgeons, right? And you speak a little differently to both. And when they go there, they're like, oh, that's me.
It's so true. I have quite a few folks that will overlap, a bunch of them that are logical, but they're also distinct and separate. An example might be I might have one person that targets the oil and gas industry. They might be in Houston, they might be somewhere in the Midwest, and oil and gas is a big piece of it. But a lot of those clients also have a cattle ranch or a farm. So they'll have a second website targeting farms or organic farms, or it could be a ranch. And then the third niche website they might have is real estate, because item 1 and 2 are on real estate, and this person has done well over time. They've purchased multiple properties, commercial properties, residential properties, and they don't, they might think of themselves as an oil and gas person. They might think of themselves as a farmer. They might think of themselves as a real estate investor. And you don't know what they're going to type in, even though, all 3 of them are related. They could be distinct and separate. And what you're trying to do is use them as magnets to pull little paper clips to you, so that those are the types of people most inclined to pick up the phone and call you and say, I need someone just like you. It's just on your real estate website, and I really want someone to understand this specific issue.
Mm-hmm. I love how you said that. Use your website as a magnet. And that's how you attract, right? Like that's how you definitely will drum up more phone calls to attract these higher quality leads for your firms. And they're coming specifically because you are the specialist in that area too. But it's also, I think, back to what you said earlier, so important for, each person listening that they become the specialist and expert in that exact area. So if it's organic farms, you really better know everything about organic farming and the tax implications, right?
And you bring up a good point, because the next thing is in addition to faking it, which is what I'm talking about, the next thing is to go out there and to learn, okay, what are the aspects of the tax code that's going to empower them and empower you to save them more money than a generalist down the street. What you're really trying to do is identify with their issue, basically break down the tax code so you're only dealing with a subset of it, a smaller range of it, kind of like the brain surgeon. So you're only dealing with a small portion of the body so that you can become superior at servicing that type of client.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Then I think becoming superior, and like you said, like the brain surgeon is the subset of a surgeon, right? It's getting more specific, and it's actually really interesting because it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, in that or your dating analogy, you're not going to have a client that rides a motorcycle, or you're not going to have a client that's a smoker. You have your list of things that they're not. And then when you start meeting some of these people in the subset, then you can align with who's going to be the best client.
You got it. Yeah. That's exactly it.
Good. I'm glad I got it. So now it's all for everyone listening to get it and put it into action, because I'm all about taking action, Hugh. I don't want, for all of us who's here to not see any results. So I get this question a lot, Hugh, and I want to get your take on it. What, a lot of accountants have asked me, again, I'm all about the conversion aspect. Like once the lead comes into you, what do you do with them and how do you take them through your process? But what about like this, getting themselves out there? Let's say they're doing the trade show or they're doing the direct mail, but what about with social media? There's Facebook, there's LinkedIn. A lot of accountants have asked me, like, how do I even start with this? What's the best social media vehicle for drumming up, higher quality leads for their firms?
Well, there's not one answer, because for different niches or expertise that they have, different social media outlets are going to work more or less effectively. Okay. The second thing is they're going to have to be willing to support that social medium. Okay. Mm-hmm. So for me to recommend a blog to somebody that is unwilling to write and nurture it, it's really not going to be successful. Either going to have to be passionate and you're going to have to support it, or you're going to have to pick something else. It could be LinkedIn. LinkedIn could be great to target people by industry, but it's terrible to target people for IRS problem resolution work. You're not going to see anything on somebody's LinkedIn profile that talks about their tax issues. It's just not going to be there, okay? Right. But if you want to target somebody by oil and gas, or somebody by hedge fund, or somebody by defense contracting, or somebody that's a restaurateur, it does work for that. So you have to flex on what outlet you use. Most of our clients don't overly engage in Facebook because it tends to be more of an individual network of friends, not for business purposes. But I would say a blog, LinkedIn, and there's some other. It really depends on the type of person's practice. So video is another one. You could use. There's different video outlets that you can use in conjunction with your website and engage people. There's a lot of platforms out there that you can use to professionally deliver video. We do quite a bit of it as well. And although I don't edit, I do have people that work for me that make it look easy, and it's very effective as well.
And what platforms do you use to get the video content out?
I don't use YouTube because it doesn't give us as much control as we would like. So we use more of a proprietary system that enables us to have more control over the video. We did experiment years ago with YouTube. It just didn't give us enough control. We did have a YouTube channel, and then they slowly started to disengage that. I was willing to pay a subscription fee, but there's a lot of platforms out there that you can use. Years ago, we did use Vimeo, which is relatively inexpensive, but we use a more proprietary one these days, and then use that as a vehicle with which to strategically place it on certain pages within our websites, as well as we have a gallery as well. So we use a variety of different techniques, but even though YouTube is huge, and if it was a search engine, it'd probably be the second biggest search engine out there. But we don't use it aggressively like we used to because we don't have enough control over that.
Got it. But I like how you said how you use Vimeo, or you're using your proprietary system, but you're ultimately putting them into these niche websites for different purposes. I'm sure and your glorious editing is helping it, but then you also have a gallery of videos. So clients, I truly believe, and I talk about this a lot in my process, is that videos help your clients get to know you as a person and personally, which that sets you apart from 99% of the accountants out there, because most people don't ever want to do a video that I know who are accountants. That's probably the most difficult thing to do. So it can really help give you an edge, right? And really maybe attract some more business of the clients that you're looking for.
Video done well does create a relationship, and it is very powerful and very persuasive. But the person has to feel comfortable to reach out there outside of their comfort zone and think about exactly what the goal is, what they're going to deliver, what they're going to provide to the end user, the listener, the watcher, and then what's in it for me. So,
yep. Awesome. So, Hugh, what do you think are for someone listening today, they've listened to us for the last however many minutes, 20, 30 minutes. What are the best 1 or 2 or 3 things they can put into action today to really get on the horse with drumming up, some new leads, maybe if it's even one, out of all the things that we talked about, what are the 1, 2, or 3 things that they can do right now to really start attracting some of these higher quality leads?
Yeah, I think the one thing, and again, it's probably not as easy as the person likes because it's not as turnkey, but it all starts with who's your ideal client, just like who's your ideal date. And really, I mean that sincerely. Who is the person that you want to pick up, over and over and over again? Because the accounting industry is a singles business. It's like picking up lots of singles. You don't get many triples or home runs. It's really all about picking up more of the same type of client. So I would start one with who is that ideal client so that you can pick up not just 1, 2, or 10 of them. How can you pick up 50 to 100 to 200 of them and do the same thing over and over again? Okay, so that's the beginning. The second thing is, okay, what are the different life stages of that typical client? Are they a newbie in the industry? And if so, what are some of the things that I would provide to them? Are they in the mid stage of their career? Are they in the, I'm going to say 35 to 50-year-old range in their profession, in their industry? This is what I would gradually cross-sell them into, as you would call it. And then the third stage is, what are the folks towards, the latter stage of their career that are more established? And what are the things in your back pocket that you're going to cross-sell them into? Okay. I didn't say much of that of the newbies, but break it into the life stage of their profession, of their industry, in terms of what you can provide and what they're going to need. Okay. So that would be the second thing I'd start to think through and develop is, what is the 1, 2, or 3 things you're going to provide for somebody that's new in their career, at the mid stage, or the latter aspect of their career? I would absolutely develop a website, putting your best foot forward and making it appear as though you're the best accounting firm for that type of professional. It doesn't matter whether or not they're in the early, mid, or late stage of their career, but how do you put your best foot forward? so that more of those people pick up the phone and call you. And then the last fourth piece, and I'll end with this, is really what are some of the social media components that help you stand out and establish that inexpensive connection. Because most people will kind of drive by your website, drive by your firm several times before they pick up the phone and call you. They need multiple different ways of being persuaded that you're the best solution for them, because advertising works on frequency. It's not the first, second, or third piece of advertisement that's going to persuade them to pick up the phone. They need to be hit from several different ways. Just like somebody mentions to you, did you hear about the movie that just came out last week? Or did you hear about the good restaurant that just opened up in town? It's going to have to come from different angles. And about the third time you hear it, you're saying, you're the third person that's mentioned that to me.
Yeah.
Okay. The light bulb goes on. That's the same thing with advertising. It has to come to you from different angles, and then all of a sudden, bingo, the light bulb goes on, they're inspired, and they pick up the phone. So those would be the four things I'd explain in terms of the path that they would take.
Awesome. Well, every single person can do that and put that into action today. So thank you so much, Hugh, for being here with us today on the Abundant Accountant Podcast. Hugh, what's the best way for people to learn about you and build your firm?
Simply, they could just go to buildyourfirm.com and check us out and see the variety of different things we do, or they could reach out to me directly on LinkedIn. Either way, it's fine. I'm easy to reach. My email address is Hugh, Hugh, at buildyourfirm.com. And I wish you nothing but success. And Michelle, thank you so much for having me today. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you all so much for joining myself and Hugh today. What a fun time, right? Thinking about what type of ideal clients do you want to find to really drum up some new clients in your accounting firm, and thinking of it as dating. Isn't that just fun? So the first thing, remember, each client will have a different life stage. So figuring that out and putting that into action right away. And, really, where are they established in their career? Are they new? Are they in the mid-level? Are they in the latter part? And then I really love the last piece, which he says is the social media present. It's really inexpensive. And it's really creating that, people are driving by your website. People are driving by your LinkedIn. People are driving by your videos, and advanced marketing or frequency is key. And he says that it takes 3 times for a light bulb really to click on. Like if you heard about the latest, greatest movie that's out, I think it's like 7 times for me, maybe even 10. But people need to drive by you. And what's that impression going to be? And what is it that you want to really get out to your specific ideal client that you truly want to work with? So I say take at least those 4 things at the end that he was discussing, put it into action today, start implementing it, because this is one of the biggest questions that I've heard from a lot of you is how do you drum up the exact types of clients that you're looking for in order to grow your firm? Also, if you have a quick second, I'd be grateful if you could leave me a rating and a review on iTunes, and also hit the subscribe button, because I always love hearing from you. And again, if you've ever felt like you've given away too much information for free and you're really just kind of sick and tired of not getting paid what you're worth, you're just like a lot of other accountants, and I do have a solution for you. You can join me on my next Accountants Masterclass over at theabundantaccountant.com. Really learn how to communicate your value, learn how to collect those higher fees, and really learn also how to get paid what you're worth and get paid up front. So once again, head on over to theabundantaccountant.com, and I will see you next time on the show.